ESPN. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Game Night here on 97.3 ESPN, a Thursday night, the day after the 76ers defeat the Los Angeles Lakers. A lot of Sixer fans are pretty excited about that. I knew a couple people at the gym last night. They were pumping their fists. I think one of them was pumping their fists because he had money on the game. He didn't really care about the Sixers as much. But I think the majority of Sixer fans are pretty happy today. So we'll get into the game last night. Also, we get a Flyers game tonight. Yes, the Flyers are in action tonight. We have Kevin Durso rejoining the show tonight at 6:20. Flyers look for 2 in a row against the rival New Jersey Devils. That's a legitimate rivalry. You know, Gill and Broads were talking about NFL rivalries. There is no better regional rivalry, in my opinion, when it comes to hockey than Jersey versus Philadelphia. I mean, the proximity is just so close. It's still but too close, you could argue. You know how many Devil fans I went to high school with? I think a couple of you out there might be listening to me right now. I know a couple of you Devil fans out there. You hated the Flyers. You loved the Devils. And I went to high school with you. And I still got along with you. Maybe I'm just a nice guy. I don't know. Of course, we can watch the show here on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. And at 97.3 ESPN on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. We are streaming live the show, as always, here on 97.3 ESPN. Also, I will get into what is going on in the NFL because Deshaun Watson went out of town, even though they hired David Culley as their new Texans head coach. The NFL quarterback here. It's going to be a fun offseason. Stafford, Watson, maybe Jimmy Garoppolo. It's going to be a good offseason. So we'll get into that as well coming up on the show. Plus, don't forget my DraftKings Sportsbook pick of the night. We'll get to that a little bit later in the show as well. But I'd be remiss if I didn't start talking about that Sixers game last night. Let me tell you about that Sixers game last night. First of all, I'll be honest. I wasn't 100% sure they were going to win the game. I really wasn't. I didn't have a ton of faith that that team was going to go out there and win that game because I wasn't sure which version of the Sixers I was going to get. But then as the game started progressing, as the game played out, I'm watching and I'm thinking, they are controlling the pace of this game. And I know that the people are saying, well, you know, the Lakers went on a 13-0 run in the last few minutes. That's why they took the lead. Let me ask you a question. Do you really think the Lakers were just going to roll over and let the Sixers beat them? LeBron James, Anthony Davis. You think those guys are just going to roll over and let them win? No. See, my big gripe with the game last night, because I was excited at the end of the game. I loved seeing Tobias Harris go out there, take that ball, look at Alex Caruso right between the eyes and say, I'm taking you to the outhouse. Let's go. He got that win. I love seeing that attitude from Tobias because that's what's been missing from this team the last few years. And Bros mentioned it earlier on the Sports Bash to Keith Smith of Yahoo Sports. Maybe Tobias Harris needs to play for Doc Rivers the rest of his basketball life. Because to see what he did last night was incredible. It was amazing. I loved seeing that moxie out of him. I loved seeing that type of attitude from him. Because when you think about it, what is Ben Simmons going to do in the situation? Well, he's probably just going to drive to the basket or pass it. What's Embiid going to do? You know, he's going to try to either go in the post or if he's on the perimeter, he tries to do that long fake pump fake, and then he'll move around and try to go in for the score. So for Tobias Harris, he really is the only high-level player on the court last night who could take a guy off the dribble and get his own shot. And as soon as Alex Caruso switched on to him, you knew you had a moment. And this could be a moment that changes the 76ers season. I might be crazy. You can comment at 609-403-0973. You can comment on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. But I genuinely believe that the Tobias Harris getting that shot last night could be a moment that changes the entire dynamic of this season. Because for this Sixers team, they've had game-winning shots. They've had game-winning moments. But think about some of the guys who were behind those game-winning moments. Marco Bellinelli, JJ Redick. They weren't one of your high-priced star players. You know how many times I heard, how many times? You know how many ridiculous amount of times I heard over and over and over again about, well, Tobias Harris, he's overpaid. Tobias Harris, he doesn't deserve all that money. Tobias Harris, you're giving him all that money, and he's giving you nothing. Tobias Harris has proven himself to be worth the money, in my opinion. I think we can finally have that conversation, right? I noticed all of you were quiet out there after Tobias Harris gets that game winner. I didn't see any of the trolls on Twitter or any social media platforms trashing Harris then. It's probably because the same people who hate on Tobias Harris are probably the same people who worship at the cult of Nick Foles. Probably the same people. That's why. They run away scared when somebody actually does something and they're wrong. But think about what Tobias Harris has done this year. Yes, he had a rough start to the year. But think about what he has done in the month of January alone. Now, remember, he missed 3 games because of the COVID protocols, not because he tested positive for COVID. COVID protocols. Some of you out there want to mix and match that too, but I digress. Tobias Harris is averaging 21 points per game in the month of January. 6 rebounds in the month of January. 3 assists. And you know what he's shooting? 46% from 3 in the month of January. So tell me, is Tobias Harris still not worth the money? I think he's worth the money. Is he the best number 3 guy for this team? I don't know, but obviously there's a chemistry issue going on between him, Embiid, and Simmons that's working. There's chemistry there. There's viability there. There's something cohesive there. And as of right now, I'm not interested in trading Tobias Harris. You might be able to talk me into trading Ben Simmons, but you're not talking me into trading Tobias Harris right now. Because unless I'm getting something or someone that is a better fit for this basketball team, I think right here and right now, Harris, Embiid, and Simmons have something going on. And the way this team responded last night, the way they fought with the Lakers from beginning to end, the way they didn't just, shrink away and just go back to the locker room with their tail between their legs after the Lakers run a 13-0 run near the end of the game. The way they handled the entire game, the way they handled the whole situation with Embiid falling. You didn't see any Sixer players try to fight with LeBron James. You didn't see any guys, cry like LeBron was the whole night to the refs. No. You know what Embiid did? He rolled around in pain because he was really hurting, and then he got up and he went back to work. And yeah, that pain affected him the rest of the game, but he went out and got back to work. And Tobias and Ben and Seth and everybody else got up and went to work. That may be the moment that we point back to the rest of this year as the moment that this team started something special. I don't know if that means they're going anywhere like the NBA Finals or anything like that, but I think that we are seeing legitimately this team has taken a step forward, and that excites me. Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, the text board is open at 609-403-0973, 609-403-0973. Also, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can follow 973 ESPN on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter to watch the show live here in the Matt Black Kia studios on 97.3 ESPN. Of course, Flyers insider Kevin Durso will join us coming up at 6:20 to talk more about the Flyers and Devils. Flyers got 1 win versus the Devils. Will they get a 2nd win? We will find out tonight. There's a different goalie out there. It's not Brian Elliott tonight. Carter Hart's back in that. What does that mean? Who the heck is this new 36-year-old defenseman out there? Prosser. We'll find out all that and more coming out from Kevin Durso at 6:20 tonight here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. I'd be remiss if I don't hit on some of the NFL topics here, and that is, first of all, Nick Sirianni will speak to the media tomorrow. We will have all the coverage of that tomorrow here on 97.3 ESPN on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill and Hunter Birdie, as well as Game Night. But when Sirianni speaks tomorrow, we got questions. I got questions, at least, and I know the fan base has questions. Tell me about this offense. Tell me about this coaching staff. Tell me about the quarterback situation. Have you talked to Wentz? Who else have you talked to? There were reports that Sirianni's been spending a lot of time catching up with players and coaches and trying to get up to speed in the organization. And if you believe the reports, part of the reason why this press conference is waited until Friday, January 29th, is because Sirianni wanted to get as much of his feet under him as possible before he spoke to the media. Smart move. I can't disagree with that at all. I think it's a sharp idea. I think it's a good move, at least day one, that Sirianni is trying to think before doing. You know, one of the problems here in Philadelphia is that sometimes we want these guys to win the press conference. We want them to react in real time, and I could care less. I want you to win football games. If you can tell me how you're going to win football games, I'd love to hear that too. But I want to see you win football games. I don't think we value enough that we need a guy who's going to come in here after Doug Peterson and is going to go out there and show himself to be at least on Doug's level. For all the people out there who hated Doug Peterson, he was the head coach of his Super Bowl winning team, and he got you to the postseason 3 straight seasons despite a plethora of injuries. If Sirianni can show himself to be at least in Doug Peterson's league, I think we got something interesting here. We got something going on here. Of course, now all the NFL head coaching jobs are filled after David Culley. David Culley, a former Vanderbilt quarterback. I learned that in the last 12 hours. Former Andy Reid assistant. John Harbaugh is going to be the oldest first-year head coach in NFL history at 65. But doesn't matter because Deshaun Watson wants out of town. So, hey, David, good luck with that. Good luck with that. And where is Deshaun Watson going to go? He has a no-trade clause. He can literally dictate where the conversation goes. And this offseason is going to be very fascinating. I'm looking forward to this NFL offseason because you think about it. Matthew Stafford wants to be traded. Deshaun Watson wants to be traded. The Rams, they are non-committal on Jared Goff. The 49ers, they're non-committal on Jimmy Garoppolo. There's a report floating around that the Bears are going to go hard after Deshaun Watson. Can you imagine that? The team that didn't draft him, that drafted Trubisky, might end up with Deshaun Watson. How bonkers is that? Just to think about. That's insane. I mean, that team, they went all in on Trubisky, and then they brought in Nick Foles, and that didn't work out. Now they might go after Deshaun Watson. Wow. I mean, Ryan Pace has got to do something to save his job, right? That GM's hot seat is hotter than anything. You think people hate Howie Roseman in Philadelphia? I don't know if people hate Ryan Pace. 100% in Chicago, as much people hate Howie Roseman here. But I can guarantee you, Ryan Pace's seat is way hotter than Howie Roseman's is, no matter what the fans say. That dude drafted Mitch Trubisky, and he traded up a spot to get him. So he sacrificed draft picks, and he picked the wrong quarterback. Oh, man. And you thought Howie Roseman was bad. Man, Ryan Pace is going to figure out how he's going to save his job right now. No wonder he wants to get Deshaun Watson. That's the only redeeming quality he might have right now. That he can say he traded for Khalil Mack and Deshaun Watson within a few years span. That might be the only saving grace that guy has in Chicago. Think about all the other quarterbacks that might get moved as well. There's a possibility that Deshaun Watson wants to go to Miami. What happens to Tua Tagovailoa? Does he go to Houston? Is that a quarterback for quarterback swap? Does Stafford go to Indianapolis? Does he go? Where does he go? Do the Dallas Cowboys hit a snag in the Dak Prescott negotiations, let him walk, and they maybe try to get one of these quarterbacks? Washington football team needs a quarterback. What do? The New England Patriots, they definitely need a quarterback. What do? I have no idea what the Jets are going to do. They're going to keep Sam Darnold. They're going to draft Justin Fields. They're going to trade Darnold. I have no idea, but I'm here all for it. I am here for the entire NFL offseason. I mean, there's still no guarantee that Carson Wentz stays. I know some Eagle fans would love to see the Eagles trade that 6th overall pick and Carson Wentz to Houston for Deshaun Watson. If I'm Howie Roseman, at least need to make that call. I think there's a lot of things that could happen this offseason, and I'm here for all of it. Ideally, though, the best landing spot for Deshaun Watson, maybe a team that I haven't mentioned yet. The best landing spot for Deshaun Watson may actually be the Vikings. That Kirk Cousins deal is coming to the end of that guaranteed money. And I think that Deshaun Watson, with those weapons, Thielen and Jefferson, and those tight ends, Smith and Rudolph, Dalvin Cook as your running back, at least environment-wise, that might be the best landing spot for him. Oh, and by the way, you're in a dome, just like at Houston. Half your season's played indoors. Not a bad deal. We got to talk Flyers hockey coming up next year on Game Night on 97.3 ESP. Shoot your text in at 609-403-0973 is the text board. And you can comment on the stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle City.
It's Sixers basketball tomorrow on 97.3 ESPN with the voice of the 76ers, Tom McGinnis, calling all the exciting play-by-play action.
Free ball by Tobias is good. Oh, baby, like manna from heaven. Tobias Harris.
The Sixers are in Minnesota to face the T-Wolves. Coverage begins at 8 p.m. Philadelphia 76ers basketball on your radio home of the Sixers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN.
Stop the countdown. It's not a new year we're celebrating. It's an all-new Matt Blatt Nissan. Yes, you heard right. Matt Blatt Nissan is now open on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, next to Home Depot, and online at mattblattnissan.com. Help us celebrate when you get out of that old car, truck, or SUV and into a brand new Nissan with the Matt Blatt Nissan Fast Track Checkout. Available online at mattblattnissan.com. Our non-touch delivery and electronic paperwork ensures your safety comes first. Plus, Matt Blatt Nissan wants your trade. Bring it in today and help us celebrate the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike in Egg Harbor Township, or visit us online. We want to help with your credit approval. And don't forget, with Matt Blatt, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy. Celebrate the all-new Matt Blatt Nissan online at mattblattnissan.com. Credit may affect terms. Negative equity will be refinanced to the new vehicle. Get all the details at mattblattnissan.com. Let's get it on at Matt Blatt Nissan on the Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township.
Oh yeah, it's on at Matt Blatt Nissan.
A message from your neighbors and friends at First Bank. We've been serving residents and businesses of Sea Isle City and the surrounding communities for more than 130 years. Today's challenges, while unique, are another opportunity to show our strength and resilience. Our commitment to you remains strong. Whether it's using our drive-through services, bank by phone, the First Bank mobile app, or online banking, we're staying strong with you. Be safe and be secure. First Bank, here for you.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hey guys, are you afraid of taking off your shirt in public? Don't be embarrassed. Just say, I love Lyle back instead with male breast reduction. Many men develop a fullness in their chest as boys that persists and even worsens as they get older. This condition is called gynecomastia, and with simple liposuction, most cases can be effectively treated. Call 856-MAKEOVER today to schedule your private consultation with Dr. Lyle and Back. That's 856-MAKEOVER, or visit ILoveLyleBack.com.
Bigger, better, Boardwalk Honda. Start your year off in a brand new Boardwalk Honda. Hurry in today and shop our complete new 2021 inventory. Civics, Accords, CRVs, you name it, we have it all from store to shore. And right now, get 0% APR financing for up to 60 months on select new Honda models. Or lease a new 2021 Civic Sedan LX front-wheel drive for $139 a month for 36 months. Plus, browse our entire selection of pre-owned and certified pre-owned Hondas. We're sure to have the vehicle you want at the price you want. Plus, we work with all credit situations. Boardwalk Honda partners with over 25 top financial lenders, so we'll help you get approved and on the road in your new Honda in no time. Take advantage of 0% APR financing on your new Honda today. Visit Boardwalk Honda today, located in Egg Harbor Township, or shop online at boardwalkhonda.com. And remember, from Maine to Miami, nobody beats a Boardwalk deal.
Boardwalk Honda.
Call us toll free at 844-890-3390 for more details.
There's only one original stuffed crust, and it's only from Pizza Hut. The only place that gives you up to 3 toppings on your original stuffed crust for just $11.99. Order yours online at pizzahut.com. Ask or click for limited time offer. Extra charge for more toppings and extra cheese. Exclusions apply.
Saturday on the NBA on ESPN Radio.
Here's James on it. Puts it off the window and gets it himself.
LeBron and the Lakers head to Boston to face Jason Tatum and the Celtics.
It doesn't matter any given year whether the team is good or bad. You're up for this game. Just something about this game every year.
It's the NBA on 97.3 ESPN, your exclusive home for the NBA Finals. Coverage begins after the Flyers host the New York Islanders. You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Yes, the Flyers are back in action tonight. They are taking on the Devils. Second time they take them on this week. Of course, all the action at 7 o'clock here on 97.3 ESPN. And joining us right now on the Boardwalk Honda Hotline, live on the stream. Yes, on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter, you can watch the show here on 97.3 ESPN. The one and only Kevin Durso on the headset here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Kevin, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing well, Josh. How are you?
Good. So they got the win on Tuesday, and you and I talked about on Tuesday about how you wanted to see how this team played, one, without Carter Hart, but also, two, how the defensemen lined up. And now it looks like we're going to have another new defenseman make his debut for the Fly Guys tonight. So you had Goss's Bear debut on Tuesday night. Who the heck is this guy debuting tonight?
So Nate Prosser's in the lineup tonight, and I know that's a name that not a lot of people are probably familiar with, and he's been around the team for the last year or so and basically has been a minor league presence. He's been in training camp as an option, but never really looked at as a guy who I think people thought was going to get in the lineup. This is a pretty clear message sent at this point, I would say, because I think the assumption was that Eric Gustafson's out of the lineup when Shane Gostisbehere returned on Tuesday. It looks like you think he's going to stay out of the lineup. Here comes Nate Prosser, who's coming out of the group. And I think the suspicion was Mark Friedman was probably going to be the guy because he was the guy behind Gostisbehere even during the whole training camp process. And Friedman is out of the lineup tonight, but so is Robert Haig. And I think that's kind of telling because that says that this is a message being sent. And Alain Vigneault called Haig's play over the last few games average at best. So kind of tells you he's looking for more from everybody and he's not afraid to pull somebody out. I think it was pretty clear that for that, at least that one game that Gustafson was out, that the turnover he had in Boston that led directly to a goal was kind of a final straw and some poor defensive play, and that it was time to look at a different option to get somebody in. And when Gostisbehere was ready to go, that's the option that went in. I think the same thing's happening now. Haig hasn't had a good stretch of games. I mean, you can point to a lot of guys. I thought Friedman's kind of a little bit in over his head in this spot, trying to play in a higher role than maybe he's expected to. There's so many guys that are out right now or are being flexed in and out of the lineup because you're trying to find the right combinations. And so Friedman comes out, but Justin Braun hasn't had good stretches. Robert Haig hasn't had good stretches. And Eric Gustafson hadn't had good stretches. So now you're seeing how guys can bounce in and out of the lineup because of that. So Prosser gets a chance. He's a veteran guy who's been around the block a few times. He's 35 years old. He hasn't played an NHL game in almost 2 years. So that'll be the interesting thing. That's why it's a little bit confusing. But at the same time, Alain Vigneault just flat out said it. He believes he's earned the chance to be in this lineup compared to the guys who aren't playing tonight. And that's pretty telling.
I know Prosser was with Minnesota the majority of his career, and we know Chuck Fletcher was from Minnesota as well. Is that maybe where we can connect the dots here for why he's in Philadelphia?
Yeah, that's why he's around the team, at least. That's why he's part of the organization. And it's not just Chuck Fletcher. Brent Flair, the assistant GM, also had time with Minnesota and has a connection there too. So that was pretty obvious that was the reason why he signed here and why they probably made a negotiation look easy on a low-scale deal. It wasn't anything that was to write home about. I mean, it was one of those minor league type deals that you make at free agency all the time to have that guy in reserve playing in your minor league system when you need a veteran guy to come in. So it's not a surprise that he's part of the team and brings some veteran. And it's good to have a veteran like that in the minor league system for sure, because he's a guy who these young kids who have never played professionally before, they'll feed off of somebody like that for sure. But to see him actually get the call here is not expected for sure. And we'll see how it plays out. It's definitely taken a bit of a chance when you consider that they played well enough to win the game on Tuesday. It wasn't great by any stretch, and Alain Vigneault did say the puck management had to be better for sure, but they did win that game. And you kind of thought that, another thing that was thought of too is just yesterday they talked about how Phil Myers was getting closer, and they don't know about his status for the weekend yet, but it could be possible he plays in one of those weekend games. I think that next Wednesday against Boston is certainly back on the table. And if you're getting close to getting a guy like that back, you kind of almost sit there and go, after winning a game, you might just run it back for that one game to see if you can't get to the next step before you can get an update on a guy. And instead, they're doing the opposite. They're bringing somebody brand new into the picture to try to see if it can work and to maybe give the other guys a chance to just regroup themselves, because it's been a struggle for a lot of guys. And I like I said, I think it's a clear message sent to these other guys that what they've been doing so far isn't going to cut it.
Before we get to Ghost and Provorov, that pairing, I want to know, we know that Gustafsson is known as an offensive-minded defenseman. So what kind of style of play does Prosser bring to the ice? And then we know that would be Ghost and Provorov, Prosser and Gustafsson. So who's the third pairing, and explain what that brings as well?
Sure. And Prosser is going to be the opposite of Gustafsson and Gostisbehere. He's the more stay-at-home type. So from a stylistic standpoint, it makes a lot of sense to have a guy like that. He very much could be kind of like a Justin Braun stand-in in that sense, because he plays that, he's supposed to play that style. You're not going to see him jump up on the play that much. You're going to see him probably, the goal is to see if he can make the simple, reliable play that gets you out of trouble more times than not. The thing that I would probably question about it is that when you haven't played an NHL game in that long, your positioning could be off just a hair, your timing could be off, and that's enough for any team to take advantage. So that's why it's a little bit of a concern. The other pairing is going to be Justin Braun with Travis Sanheim. And similarly, you're going to get a guy who has some offensive chops in Sanheim. He's got the ability to move the puck well. He's a good skater. And Braun's more the stay-at-home guy. I think the only place where you don't really see it is that top pairing of Provorov and Gostisbehere, where Provorov has that offensive side to his game, but plays a better all-around game. Gostisbehere is clearly the puck-moving type. So I think that those three pairings are kind of unique in that sense, where you got two that have that mold, where you have a guy who kind of has the defensive responsibility and a guy who can move the puck. But your top pairing, the guy, and Gostisbehere played 22 minutes that first game. So that's pretty telling that they feel like they can lean on him, especially when he had just come back, when Alain Vigneault said COVID treats everybody differently and things like that. His conditioning didn't look bad if he played 22 minutes. So he's in shape enough that he can definitely play significant minutes. It's a matter of seeing how this team will look in their own zone, because they can't do what they did in Tuesday's game and handle sustained offensive pressure by the Devils. The Devils got some really bad luck with the posts and things like that. They just couldn't seem to buy a goal in that game. And because they couldn't, it doesn't mean that they weren't close to putting that game in their favor, obviously. So the Flyers got lucky on that sense, where they were able to come back the other way, get some timely goals, find a way to get the win. But they need to be better tonight to make sure that they make it look much better on the score sheet, where they're not giving up the same amount of shots. And they gave up one of their lowest shot outputs of the season on Tuesday. So it was a step in the right direction, but there's still a lot of things that they can clean up.
Kevin Durso joins us here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. You can follow him on Twitter at Kevin_Durso while your Flyers and NHL coverage. Also, we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Myself and Kevin, you can watch the show on there. Of course, Flyers versus Devils tonight, 7 o'clock on 97.3 ESPN. Kevin, you mentioned about the defensive lapses, and you and I talked about before about the fact that, part of that's on the forwards. Part of that is on the defensive assignments. And without Sean Couturier, listen, offensively, this team might have punch, but can we expect anything defensive? Because, listen, you got some big bodies like Hayes and Voracek and JVR on the quote-unquote number one line. But what are those guys doing to better and shore up the defensive side of the ice?
Yeah, they're missing a lot in that area because of the fact that, like I said when I was on the Sports Bash yesterday, you got guys who might be hanging out at the blue line waiting for the play to develop, waiting for the defenseman to make that play, and they're not going back to help out and give them maybe a shorter outlet pass, maybe give them something that's a little bit more open space so that they can make a cleaner play and cleaner exit. The defenseman may be making passes into the forward skates because they're out of position slightly. That's where that breakdown happens as well, and we're seeing it too often. That's where it comes into play. A lot of times the thing that the forwards are doing also that doesn't help out is you can go in the offensive zone, get a controlled entry, look like you're going to start to create something, and make too many passes and turn it over that way and send the opposing team the other way. And now you have two defensemen back who are trying to cover three guys, and there's another odd man rush situation. Maybe it turns into, I think, a lot of those first period breakaways that the Devils had in Tuesday's game, where they're able to lead a guy in between the defensemen because there's only two guys back. There's three coming. Someone's uncovered. They get through to open space. They have a path to the net. They're just cruising right on through. So there needs to be better play from the forwards in that sense. And I think the big telling thing is that, as I just mentioned with Phil Myers and how he might be getting closer to coming back, it was asked of Alain Vigneault today whether Sean Couturier was on that path, because Couturier skated earlier this week as well. And while that's certainly always an encouraging sign, he said he's probably still a couple weeks away in his estimation. So you're not getting him back this weekend. You're probably not getting him back for Boston next week. You're probably setting your sights on the games after that at most, because, right now it's easy to say 2 weeks in his estimation. That could always change to 1 week if something progresses faster. It could go longer too. And that's, I think, the thing you had to be concerned about. It was a minimum 2 week injury. Technically, we should be coming up on that minimum 2 weeks this weekend. And clearly, I don't think you're going to see him next week either. And it prolongs it. It gives more games to be played without him. And as your leader, as a forward, when it comes to playing in a defensive zone, you can see how this team looks to him to be that guide, to set everything else up, to show where to go, what positioning to play, how to make a smart play, whether it's along the wall or in the middle of the ice, to keep things calm in the defensive zone and then be able to deliver at the other end of the ice. They don't have a problem handling that other end of the ice necessarily. They can create opportunities, and they've scored a good number of goals to start the season, but it's hurting them in the other end where they're giving up a lot of shots and where they're giving up too many goals.
Now, on the other end of the ice, also, we mentioned a little bit earlier, Carter Hart back in between the pipes tonight. Brian Elliott played pretty well, and it's not that Carter Hart's played bad, but he hasn't played like the Carter Hart that we know. That's a big difference. There's a difference between being a lousy goaltender and Carter Hart not playing up to expectations. So, do you think that day off did them maybe energize him to maybe get him a chance to step away and catch his breath? What are your thoughts on Carter Hart getting that day off and getting back in net tonight?
Yeah, I thought it was good for him. I think it was something that was necessary for him to just take a moment to not let that, let that game sit, that game from Saturday kind of sit, because his frustration was shown after the game was over, and he apologized pretty quickly for his actions then. But to hear him talk the other day about it too, and to talk about it in a different sense, with kind of like with this renewed sense of energy now, this renewed sense of wanting to be better and waiting for that next opportunity. Like, he seems eager for this opportunity now, as opposed to in that moment being so frustrated with the way things are going. Now he seems like he wants to embrace that opportunity. He's not a guy that loses back-to-back starts that often because of it. And I think you saw when he played when he got pulled in the Buffalo game, the other 6-1 game last week, his next start was the Thursday game in Boston, and the Flyers did lose that game. But for the first two periods, he pretty much carried that team and was perfect to that point. So while there were certainly things that went wrong in the third period of that game, and part of that was the support around him, and certainly there were saves he should have made in that third period, he showed in the first two periods that that's what he can be when he's completely on his game. So I'm hoping to see that from him, especially early on. I think the first 5-10 minutes, depending on how many shots, and I think it was a good thing in Tuesday's game when Brian Elliott saw 6 shots in 6 minutes. That kind of gets you right into the zone right away, and you're not waiting to find out what the guy's got or anything like that. And think about it from the opposite angle too, where the Devils, I think Scott Wedgwood faced 1 shot in that first 6 minutes. And eventually when the pressure came, when you're on the power play, when you're dealing with deflections and traffic in front of you, it can be tough to get into that rhythm. So Brian Elliott was in that rhythm early. I don't think it would be a bad thing for Carter Hart to get maybe not that kind of wave that early, but somewhat of a wave, just to have to deal with that pressure early on, just to show that he's locked in, ready to go, and responding the right way. Because I think that if he can just get his fundamentals down just a little bit more, and it's not like it's off by a mile here. It's off by just a small margin. If he can get it back really quickly, he can be the goaltender that everybody expects him to be and carry this team through games like that.
Kevin Durso, our Flyers insider. Check out his full game preview at 97.3ESPN.com. Flyers, Devils tonight. You get all the action. Tim Saunders, Steve Coates on the call right here on 97.3 ESPN FM. And don't forget, it's online, the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Every Flyers game is available to listen to on the app. Kevin, I want to hit you with a couple of NHL things before I let you go. There was a trade, and there's a defenseman in that trade, and I think, all Flyer fans are right now. Everybody's asking, well, that guy got traded. Is he available? We saw that the Senators and the Sharks exchanged players, and defenseman Christian Jaros was, I think I'm saying this right. Is it Jaros or Jaros? I'm not fully sure.
Yeah, I think it's Jaros.
Okay. Well, he's a Slovakian defenseman. I know people are out there saying, all right, well, people are being traded. Why aren't the Flyers making trades?
Well, I think that also, the trade that you're referring to sounds a lot more, it's a more of a depth trade than it is something significant. This is not the Pierre-Luc Dubois, Patrick Laine trade where it's significant pieces moving here. It's kind of one that flies right under the radar, and most people won't even talk about it. It definitely won't be talked about tomorrow, I can tell you that. And that's part of why you don't make a trade either, because I don't know that a trade like that, just to make one, makes your team better instantly. You're either going to go out and really make a significant acquisition that makes everything a lot better, or you're going to kind of have to deal with what you have because of the money situation or whatever. And that's why it's hard to make a trade too. I don't think the Flyers are looking to make a trade that involves depth for depth when you're already playing with that depth anyway and kind of asking for more. You're either going to, they don't need another third pairing defenseman if that's what people are looking for. They need someone who's clear-cut top four. And you're probably not going to find a clear-cut top four guy for anything less than $3 million out there. And that means you're going to have to move some money or work out someone retaining money. And that takes too much time right now to happen immediately. There's too many teams that are already playing that game with cap flexibility and trying to figure out what they can fit, what they can't fit. So that's why you're not seeing much activity from the Flyers. I've seen one of the rumors that's out there right now is Keith Yandle to the Flyers. And look, I can give you a couple reasons why not it makes sense, but why it's talked about, because I think about, Keith Yandle's great friends with Kevin Hayes, so there might be discussion there. He would have to waive his no trade clause, but there might be a fit because they do need a defenseman who has top four experience. But from a money standpoint, from an expansion draft standpoint, it makes no sense to make that trade, and that's why it's not happening immediately, even though it seems like it's out there talked about. It's like Shane Gostisbehere trade rumors too. We can talk about Gostisbehere trade rumors all we want to, but he's got a $4.5 million cap hit. No team is able to just take that on right away unless they're wide open with cap space. And then again, you want to also try to make sure you're playing that up so you're getting what you think is fair value. And your idea of fair value might not be the same as the other GM in the league or in the conversation. So that's where trades can completely stall out. So I think that was just a minor depth trade that can happen on any given day because it's probably equal value going one way or the other. Money's not difficult to discuss. It's not the same thing with what the Flyers are probably looking for.
Kevin, one more before I let you go, and I always appreciate you giving us insights and enlightenment on different things around the Flyers and the NHL. For those who saw the news came out several days ago now, but it's still fresh in the cycle that NBC Sportsnet is being shut down. Basically, it's going to go away. That's the platform for a ton of NHL action. For those who don't have NHL Network, it's NBC Sportsnet and NBC Regular L. So now they're going to dump a bunch of those games on USA. And this coincides with the fact that the NBC contract is going to be coming to an expiration soon. So what do you think the future of the NHL is on television? Because I know that CBS is going to have a ton of money to spend because they no longer have the SEC football package anymore. We know that Fox is willing to spend money because they received $60 billion in the Disney purchase 2 years ago. So, and ESPN's putting games on ESPN Plus. So what do you think the future of the NHL is on television?
Well, I know that they want to have two networks involved because I think you see all these other leagues out there, and the NBA is a great example. You'll have a game on TNT and you'll have a game on ESPN, and it gives you two major national networks where you can find a showcased game. That's what I think the NHL would want to do as well. ESPN's definitely in play. It's definitely in play. They've already expressed that interest. The contract is expiring for NBC, and now that this is happening where they don't have a national network like that, unless they're going to put games directly on NBC as the national network and not their sports network, which is, as you said, it's disappearing, then I think that it's going to be more limited in what they can do. They'll probably still be involved in the discussion somewhat because of that national network aspect, but it takes away a whole national network that other people had access to that's gone, where you could play games on many different nights of the week, maybe not talking about like the Sunday game of the week or something like that. So I think ESPN's in play. Because of, as you mentioned, the Disney purchase with Fox, I think Fox is in play too, because I think they kind of go hand in hand now. And because of that, think about putting games on something like FS1 on a Tuesday or Wednesday night and having ESPN out there to have one of those as well. And then you got Sundays with ABC, I'm sure, things like that. I think that there's plenty of potential for that. And I think CBS is the dark horse possibly because of the fact that they do have the open money to spend on it potentially, especially with the SEC news, like you said. And to have that, I think one of the things when this news came out was we were starting to think about, what networks could it be? And because ESPN and Fox have that kind of connection now, well, they're kind of hand in hand. That could just be the easy fix. And there's the two networks that get it, and NBC's out and CBS doesn't win the bidding war. But CBS might be hanging around because they will have, in addition to the national network that everybody knows, you can put a game on CBS Sports Network too, and it might go there. So you never know. I think that ESPN's definitely got interest in it though, for sure. And I think I would be shocked if they didn't have something to say about where the league's publicity and where the marketing goes and where viewership can go, because I think that they were once one of the leaders in putting on national hockey games and airing the Stanley Cup playoffs and Stanley Cup finals, and NBC has done a great job with it for the last several years. But from the way that they've been able to get many games on television throughout the years, they have these triple headers that are on sometimes, and that's a great thing for the league to have that. But I think that ESPN could also, as a network, use that back, because I think it just brings a whole nother angle to it. They had all those, doing all the shows that they could have with it, the cast of broadcasters that they had then, who a lot of them went over to the NBC side later on because they were mainly NHL mainstays. They could be right back on your television screen as part of ESPN down the road. wouldn't be shocked if that happened, I should say. And so it'll be interesting to see how it develops, but it's a big opportunity for the league because of the fact that there's going to be, it's not the biggest money deal when the NBA dwarfs, makes the NHL, it dwarfs what the NHL makes, you know what I mean? Like the NHL doesn't make near as much as the NBA does. And the NHL has an opportunity now to maybe get a new deal where some serious competition is involved, and that could really be a help for the league in terms of a revenue standpoint, because they could certainly, a lot of teams talking about how they've lost money over the course of the pandemic in the last several months and things like that. Having a TV deal like this that could come in and have certainly a few more numbers as part of the final revenue share that they could get for this could be huge for the league.
He's Kevin Durso. Follow on Twitter at Kevin_Durso for all your Flyers NHL coverage. Check out his preview for Flyers and Devils right now at 97.3 ESPN.com. He'll have a full recap of the game as well tonight. And as all guests, he appeared on the Boardwalk Honda hotline. Kevin, good to see you virtually. Great stuff today. I appreciate you jumping on.
Thanks, Josh. Appreciate it.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Game Night being brought to you by my friends over at weightliftinghq.com. Weightliftinghq.com is located right here in South Jersey. They can cater you fully online for everything you need to meet your health and fitness goals in 2021. Whether you need squat or bench rack, kettlebells, dumbbells, cardio and fitness machines, resistance bands, and more, everything you might need, they have it at weightliftinghq.com. Use my code radio10 at checkout for 10% off your entire order. So it's not just getting delivery to your house and setting it up right in your home with weightliftinghq.com, but you can get 10% off the Radio 10 at checkout. Weightliftinghq.com, Radio 10 for 10% off your entire order at weightliftinghq.com. We'll give you my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night and wrap up the show coming up on the other side right here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app. It's free thanks to First Bank of Sea Isle City, and we are live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter at 973 ESPN. You can watch the show, Josh Hennig, live here in the Matt Black Kia studios.
It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey tonight on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app with Tim Saunders and Steve Coates calling all the play-by-play action.
What a save by Carter Hart.
The Flyers are in Jersey to face the Devils. Coverage begins at 7 p.m. It's Philadelphia Flyers hockey on the radio home of the Flyers in South Jersey, 97.3 ESPN, and listen live on the free mobile app.
On some models, excludes Corvette. With GMF financing, excludes fire sale. See dealer for details.
Start the new year in a new Chevy at Bennett Chevy. Come see all the hot new 2021s and get our famous unbeatable Bennett deal. GM supplier employee pricing, plus you keep all the rebates. And right now, that could be up to 25% off MSRP. Yes, up to 25% off. Shop all you want, but there's just no beating Bennett. Looking for pre-owned? Bennett will pay you a minimum $7,000 for your trade towards any pre-owned in stock. That's at least $7,000, regardless of how or even if your old car runs. Imagine how much you'll get for a good trade. And you will absolutely love dealing with Bennett. There's no games, no gimmicks, just real deals and no need to negotiate, because our non-commissioned sales team is paid on your satisfaction, not how much you spend. Find new roads and start the new year in a new Chevy at Bennett Chevy, Egg Harbor Township, and BennettChevy.com.
Babe, look, cash pop from the New Jersey Lottery. We just got to match one number, 1 through 15, to win.
Whoa, so easy.
Our anniversary date? September
6th?
14th.
Not to interrupt you guys, but the more numbers you play, the better your odds of winning.
Well, the 6th was our first date anniversary.
Aw, let's play both numbers.
With Cash Pop, you could win up to 250 times your wager. So pop in and play. Anything can happen in Jersey. Must be 18 or older to buy a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or someone you know with a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
There's only one original stuffed crust, and it's only from Pizza Hut. The only place that gives you up to 3 toppings on your original stuffed crust for just $11.99. Order yours online at pizzahut.com. Ask or click for limited time offer. Extra charge for more toppings and extra cheese. Exclusions apply.
Start the new year in a new Kia at Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River or Egg Harbor Township today. The new year is an opportunity to set new goals and start fresh. And at Matt Blatt Kia, our goal is to get you out of that old car you hate. Come in today or visit us online and get the credit you deserve this new year. 0% APR financing available for up to 75 months on new 2021 Kia Sportage LX SUVs in stock. Plus, Matt Blatt Kia in Toms River and Egg Harbor Township wants your trade, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Plus, you can't make a mistake with our 4-day love it or leave it return policy.
It's gotta be a Matt Blatt Kia.
Offers with approved Tier 1 or 2 credit through Kia Motors Finance. Not all will qualify. 0% based on 1516 per 1,000 borrowed. Go to mattblattkianj.com for complete details. Expires 2/4/2021. Matt Blatt Kia, 6211 Black Horse Pike, Egg Harbor Township. And now on Route 37 in Toms River.
Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
Josh Hennig here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Text board is open at 609-403-0973. Also live 97.3 ESPN on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. Hanging out with you on the platforms. You can comment on the stream right now. You get your thoughts in on the show. Of course, Flyers hockey coming up at 7 p.m. tonight here on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN mobile app. Tim Saunders, Steve Coates calling all the action tonight on 97.3 ESPN. Before we get to your thoughts, I want to remind my friends over at FanDuel Sportsbook. Celebrate the 55th edition of the big game with exclusive 55-1 odds on FanDuel Sportsbook. If you've never tried FanDuel before, new users can bet on either team and get 55-1 odds when the Chiefs play the Bucks. That's right. You can bet $5 and win $275 if you pick the winner of the big game on February 7th. All you got to do is download the FanDuel Sportsbook app and use my promo code Hennig when you sign up with FanDuel Sportsbook to get the 55-1 odds on the big game. So whether you think the Chiefs or the Bucks are going to win the Super Bowl, all you got to do is bet $5 and you can turn it into $275, but you have to use my promo code Hennig. That's Hennig with FanDuel Sportsbook. Look, I've been betting on FanDuel all year long. Everything from the player props to the odds boost. And don't forget about the same game parlays. It's an incredible app platform. It's way faster than some of those apps out there. It's way more convenient than some of the apps. Let me tell you, you want to get on FanDuel Sportsbook. Use my promo code Hennig, Hennig, to get those 55-1 odds with FanDuel Sportsbook. Must be 21 or to play. Must be present in NJ or PA. New users only. See full terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. I will be giving you my FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night in just a moment here. Just want to remind you that, listen, with the games tonight, we're going to go NBA again tonight. All right. And for the FanDuel Sportsbook pick of the night, I got two picks for you. So I usually give you, for those who haven't listened before, I give you a Sportsbook pick and a DFS pick. So in terms of the Sportsbook pick, we are going to go with Blazers versus Rockets tonight. We are going to go the over 229. Here's why. Both of these teams have given up over 100 points in 4 straight games. So these are two defenses that let in a lot of water. These are two defenses that are going to give up a lot of points. So, and it's a game on national television. Yes, this is the TNT game tonight, the first game on the schedule. So you don't have to go searching the internet or try to find where it is on television. You want to consume the game. These are two teams that don't have a lot of defense. These are two teams that can score a lot of points. So I'm going to go over 229 tonight. Now, my other pick for the sportsbook is also my DFS pick. And that is in the Clippers and the Heat game. The Clippers still do not have Kawhi Leonard or Paul George available. So Serge Ibaka now, he is averaging at least 15 points in 3 straight games without both of those guys on the court. So don't go to Luke Kennard. We made that mistake earlier this week. All right? We're not going that direction. We're going with Serge Ibaka. He's putting up points. He's not going to crush a ton of rebounds, so don't expect a high output on the rebound, but expect the scoring output. Expect maybe a couple blocks, maybe a steal there, here and there. He's going to get you production in those categories for DFS. So if you're looking for a little DFS play tonight, you're looking to throw a little extra something out there on the sports books, like I said, Serge Ibaka over 14.5 points. He scored 15 in 3 straight games. It's actually 15, 17, and 17. You want to go exactly what the numbers are. And I'm seeing the line just moved by 2 points on that game. So let's see real quick. I got a feeling that there was a lot of talk that there was a possibility that Jimmy Butler might play tonight. So that might be the reason why the line is jumping all over the place. All right, here it is. So Jimmy Butler and Goran Dragic are both out tonight. So Jimmy Butler will not return from the protocols tonight. Tyler Hero does return for them tonight. So that's a big, big reason why you're seeing that number jump right now on the Heat Clipper game. It was up to 5.5. It's now dropped all the way down to 3.5, depending on what book you look at. So be very wary of that line. And by the way, Jimmy Butler is even a better reason why I want to go Serge Ibaka on the points, because Jimmy Butler, he can guard almost every position on the floor. And without him on the court, you're going to be asking a guy like Tyler Hero to potentially maybe do a little extra defense. So a little bit of a change down there. Like I said, no Butler, no Goran Dragic tonight for the Heat. So those are your FanDuel Sportsbook picks for the night. Before we get out of here, I did want to touch on that every NFL head coaching job is filled now. And David Culley, he's being highlighted by certain people in the media as the only African-American to get a job as a head coach. And I think the presentation of what's happened this offseason when it comes to head coach and GM hirings in the NFL to be completely disingenuous and be intellectually dishonest. There have been 3 minorities who have been hired for general managers this offseason. There are not 1, but 2 men who are of minorities who were hired as head coaches. People want to overlook Robert Saleh because he is Arab American. He is not African American. frankly, I don't care what your ethnicity, gender, whatever it is. If you could do a job, you should have an opportunity to have a job. And the fact that we're not celebrating the fact that there are 3 minority candidates now that have general manager jobs, and we're only focusing on the fact that only one quote-unquote African-American got a head coaching job, I think is completely dishonest and disturbing. There's a whole contingent of people out there who you give them a bag of money and they say the bag of money's too heavy. There's a whole contingent of people out there who just don't appreciate what is being done in the world around them. There are things that you want to call it progress, whatever you want to call it, it's happening out there. But remember, think for yourself. That's all I got to say out there. Josh Hennig, this is Game Night. I'll be back on tomorrow night at 6. Have a great night, everybody.
Saturday on the NBA on ESPN Radio.
Here's James on it. Puts it off the window and gets it himself.
LeBron and the Lakers head to Boston to face Jason Tatum and the Celtics.
It doesn't matter any given year whether the team is good or bad. You're up for this game. Just something about this game every year.
It's the NBA on 97.3 ESPN, your exclusive home for the NBA Finals. Coverage begins after the Flyers host the New York Islanders.
Health Update with Robin Stoloff. Learn more, live better.
Stress takes its toll on us both physically and mentally, so it stands to reason